Hello, all of you fans of mine. This is Jennifer from Formula Fun, and today I'm going to show you my 4th grade interactive notebook that I have just completed recently with all of the samples in it for Unit 1. I know that so many of you are getting started with back to school, and I wanted to show you just how this can look in your classroom. I am going to go ahead and show you the front matter as well so you can see it. So let's get started. First, I started with a fun notebook that, a typical 4th grader would probably use. Love the little porcupine asking for a group hug from the balloons. So inside, you will see that I decorated my front cover. I put the grade level, the subject, and the teacher name. For me, it's mine. So moving on from there, let your students be colorful on their cover page. It lets them start to take ownership of their notebook. Also, on the first day, I would have my students go through and number all of the right-hand side pages with odd numbers, because as you go along, you can add in the even pages, and that helps prevent any possible tearing as they're going through quickly trying to number. Then I have goals for my students. I want them to write goals that they plan to achieve throughout the year or that they plan to stick with. Then moving along, you can see the interactive notebook contract. All of these links to the printouts are on a blog post that I did last week, and I will link to that in the description below. Moving on from there is the interactive notebook rubric. This is a freebie in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. You can see I used colorful tape at the top to make a hinge so I could put 2 in there to last the entire school year, because I grade it once a 6 weeks for a test grade. Then I've got the math formula chart for grade 4. Our lovely STAR test in Texas provides a formula chart for all of our students in grades 3 through exit level, which is high school. Then the first lesson I always teach in math is problem-solving strategies. You can see I shrunk my freebie for problem-solving strategies down to fit, and then we did a practice problem down at the bottom so the students would have a reference to look back at. Now, you notice I didn't have table of contents in my front matter. I'm doing something a little bit different for my grades 3, 4, and 5 notebooks. I have created this freebie for you right here that is a unit table of contents. So instead of having students create a unit cover page every time, they now can add in this table of contents. Again, it's hinged because this unit has more than 1 page of lessons. And they can write the big number up here, they can write the title of the unit, and then just like a library card, they can fill in the page numbers as well as the topics. You can see I also added a tab right here so that I know this is Unit 1 when my book is closed. So moving along, I'm going to pan down a little bit so that I can put this right here. Again, starting my first of my unit with vocabulary with my Frayer models. Underneath each Frayer model that is folded in half, again, has the definition that I give the students, talk about characteristics, what it looks like, examples and non-examples. And that goes for every place or every Frayer model here. When I'm doing unit vocabulary, I focus on words that are new to the students, not review words. Review words can go within the lessons, or they can just be hung up around the room and talked about. I want my students to use this as a reference for new words. The first lesson is the place value number line viewer. You can see the I can statement over here, the envelope that holds the place value number line viewer, the number line viewer's pieces, and then for a student input or a student output activity, comparing place value relationships. And underneath, the students are comparing the digits in the different places and determining how many times greater or less. Great review on how to use a highlighter and only highlighting important words. Moving along, I know my number forms: word form, standard form, and expanded form. So underneath each of these is examples. Again, that I can statements at the top. And their output activity, this is a match. And all of the cards are in the envelope. And I've kept them in here so that my students could redo the matchings over time. So that's that one. The next activity is my place value flippable. And this one fits like this. And the numbers are, oops, under here, the little numbers that go in to the slots. Sorry, this one isn't adhered. Oops, there we go. So the numbers, this is a great show me activity. My students loved to show me the greatest number you can create with 3 numbers that you've pulled out. And then the activity that they do after that is show me the value, and they do a deck of cards for this. They create the largest number between 4 cards and the smallest number. You can see that I designated black versus red on here, and they could do that several times. They could compare with their neighbor, all that great jazz. Moving along, comparing multi-digit numbers. Underneath each, we talk about what that symbol means and give an example. And then over here, comparing numbers journal. This has 3 numbers that students are to put on a number line and then put in order from least to greatest and then describe. All of these pictures are in my 4th grade interactive notebook, Unit 1, as well as the entire bundle. So you're getting all of these pictures as well. Rounding with whole numbers, I can statement, talking about place value. The I can statement has us round to the 100,000th place only. So I would have students, when they drew it through the millions, I would have them circle that section. You can see the mini book here, rounding with whole numbers. It all folds out. I love this when I'm doing a mini lesson with students because you can fit so much in here. Think about that little bit of space that you took up, but how much more room you have to write notes. That is one thing I love about flippables. And then some examples to do together before students do examples on their own. The great thing about this activity is I did not pre-underline the numbers, so you could have different students round to different areas depending on what they're working on. This one, I just chose some random ones, and I underlined the number they were to round to, highlighted. It's actually a circle that was just filled in, the number next to it, and that is because that is the strategy that I use in this mini book. Remember, 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, let it soar. That is my balloon strategy I teach to my students. So I tell them, hold their hand out and count your number. 1, 2, 3. If you've got 4, you've still got to hold on your balloon, so you're going to let it rest by your side. But if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, your balloon is soaring away. That is how I learned when I was a student, and it stuck with me. But I know there are tons of other strategies out there for rounding. So use what you know. Here is rounding with money. And there are 2 real-world problems, and the students would do the work underneath and write a sentence to explain. And more rounding with money problems. These 2 little task cards in here provide a word problem for the students practicing their problem-solving strategies, and then they would show all their work on the back. The great thing is that, again, they would also write a sentence to describe what they're doing. Try to get those students writing and communicating as much as possible. This next activity is a little bit of a review from earlier grades, but it is good because it allows students to see the relationship in fact families beyond just the basic up to 20. Students are seeing how they can make tens or add with doubles to form families. So those are underneath the little flaps. And then they do a journal about how they can use fact families to fluently add and subtract. I think it's really important that students understand that when you know numbers within the equations, you can know different operations as well. I had fun creating these little pattern pyramids. So determining patterns as you make numbers that are larger, and these little, they flip up. So there's actually 4 here. This comes straight on a page, and I just glued the 2 center sections together to fold them. And the same thing with this one. So then I had them write about what happens when you add and the place value changes, and what happens when you subtract and the place value changes. And then another journal on extending patterns, basically explaining how they did it on the page before and creating an example of their own. This next page is adding with the standard algorithm. I love this little wheel. So it's the steps for adding, and it's breaking it down step by step. First, you add the ones place, and that's all I did on that wheel. Then the second thing is 10 or more, carry next door. All I did. Step 3, add the tens place and check your answer. So really, really simple, just shows students what to do. And then they have a chance to do 3 practice problems with multi-digit numbers under here. You could also have your students write something here about what they learned. They could create some of their own problems and test their neighbor and check it themselves. All of that great stuff that you could do. Then on the next page, I have it for subtracting. So taking it all away. Look at the ones place. Can you take the bottom number away from the top number? Borrow from the tens, write the new number at the top, and give 10 to the ones, and then solve and check. And again, they have practice over here, and they could do some of their own samples over here. Okay, right here, this was something that was new to me because I have only ever used tape diagrams, or also known as strip diagrams, when it comes to fractions. So this is adding word problems with tape diagrams. This is a nice little mini lesson with one problem inside, but it breaks down each step that students are to do. So what do they know from the word problem, modeling using a tape diagram, creating the algorithm, talking about what parts of what it represents, and then writing a statement for solving it. And then they would have time to practice with 3 different problems. So you can see under here, I've done each of the problems. You have pictures of all of this. I know this is a tricky concept for many, but when you look at it and you look at the process, it actually is a really good process to teach students. And then this one is subtracting word problems with tape diagrams, also known as strip diagrams. So again, inside here, there's one problem. You go through the process of breaking down each piece, talking about it, explaining it. And then on the next page, instead of having 3, just like the other ones, inside this pocket, you have a little accordion book where there are 2 problems and a space for students to write their answer. And then they just tuck that back into the pocket when they're done. And that is Unit 1 and where it stands right now. Unit 1 is available by itself in my TBT store, but also as a bundle for the entire school year. You will get a better discount for the entire school year because you are purchasing it ahead of time. There are estimated due dates within the description, and I'll leave all that link below. I hope y'all have a fabulous school year, and as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment, post on my blog, or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you, and until next time, have a great day.